listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 221. Well, I'm joined on today's Small and Supercharged podcast by the lovely Liz Ormesher, who is part of Raccoon, who recently changed their name.
Yes.
And you're now Raccoon Media.
Yes, Raccoon Media Group.
There we go. Whew. You know, when you have that feeling that you should write something down and you don't, that was that. But you may know Liz, and you will definitely know Liz better for the lady behind the National Equine Show, which is very much part of the Raccoon Group. So thank you for joining us today, Liz. It's lovely to have you here.
My pleasure.
So can you talk to us a bit about your background? Because in addition to what you're doing work-wise, you are thoroughly horsey as well, aren't you? So
I like to think I am. I probably fall into the very standard box of being an amateur rider, or maybe even down the happy hacker route, which I am extremely proud of. I've ridden since I was 4 or 5, always loved horses, and now have a very overgrown 18-hand Hanoverian who I bought as a 4-month-old foal when I was going through a bit of a midlife crisis. He's not my first horse, but he is my baby, and he's very much part of the family. So I haven't managed to do very much with him as I've been having children myself, my other 2 babies. But he's brilliant. He's lovely. He's a kind soul, and I will get out and do some stuff on him soon, hopefully.
No, definitely. So what's your involvement been with Raccoon Media Group? Because this is, we're coming up to the first National Equine Show in 2023. So it's a slightly new ground for Raccoon, although they're very, very well known in the, well, actually, you tell us about them. You will do a much better job than I will.
No, well, of course. Raccoon are probably most well known for the National Running Show. So we're a high growth media company who've specialised in events for the past few years. The National Running Show is probably our biggest brand, but we have other shows on the market which are in these health and well-being markets where people really have a sense of community and spirit. So things like the National Snow Show, the Outdoor Expo, the National Cycle Show. And we're absolutely thrilled to be adding the National Equine Show to the mix. I am the horsey one, so it was kind of my brainchild, which I'm very grateful to be supported by the team at Raccoon. But it is another huge market in the UK, much like people who run. Lots of people ride. There are different sorts of riders, anything from those happy hackers, people who just love horses, through to the amateur and professional riders. So there's just so much scope for us horsey people. And it's great to be adding another show to the equine calendar.
Definitely. One of the things I found really interesting about Raccoon is I was up at the Beta Business conference in March. Gosh, it feels like a lifetime ago. We're recording this just after summer holidays, so I'm just in a complete whirlwind.
The year has flown.
And your MD, Mike, spoke about sustainability, and that's something that's obviously huge for, isn't it? It's everywhere at the moment, quite rightly, about making more sustainable choices, but that's a really big part of the shows that Raccoon put on, isn't it?
It is. It's something that Mike and now the wider team have always been hugely passionate about. Obviously, when you look at these big national and international events, the carbon footprint and the sustainability piece of them can be really quite shocking. So he's always been very passionate about what can we do as a business and what can we do at the events that we run to help and support and make a difference to that piece. And I think the big thing that I take away from him and what he says to other people is, you don't necessarily go in and just suddenly become sustainable, but you have to start somewhere. And if we all, as businesses and individuals, just started somewhere and made a promise to do a piece here and there, then we're on our way. And that's something that Raccoon have done, and we are working towards being net zero in the future. So that's something we will make a promise about with the shows that we're delivering, that we're working towards.
No, I really found that really interesting, because just stuff I've been to shows before, I've been involved with like the PR and the marketing of shows before, but not the kind of the logistics side. I know he talked about sort of the carpet side. Again, it's something that we don't think about when we go to shows, that we walk on carpet. Then what happens to that carpet? And
it's a really tricky piece, because obviously you go to these particularly indoor shows, and the carpet does make everything look lovely. You could go to big places like the NEC where the floor doesn't necessarily look that attractive, so carpets cover that. And I think that's something that we and other media and events companies will be working with these venues on, to say, well, if we're not having the carpets, or we're just carpeting the areas that under stands and features and such like, then how do we make that floor more presentable across the board, more, you know, aesthetically pleasing to the visitors who are coming to the show, but without adding that huge carbon piece into the mix. So yes, that our shows moving forward, we won't carpet the aisles, because it is just kind of wasted, as you say. It's the getting rid of it, it's what you do with it after. So yeah, unless you know that, you might not necessarily even think of that when you attend a show, but it's one of those things that we can do to make a difference.
No, I was really, really surprised. But again, it's really important that we are informed about these things, because we are trying to live in better ways. I think there's been a real surge in the horse industry and in a broader way about making more sustainable choices, whether we buy shampoo bars rather than bottles of shampoo, or we don't house our vegetables in plastic bags because bananas don't need that kind of restriction.
Exactly.
Just these little changes, but when you think of it on a much bigger scale, I think it's just really useful to be informed. I hadn't even considered that as a thing until Mike said it, and I thought, well, of course.
And what's really lovely to see is that we're starting to see that come through more with the brands and products that are out there, in equine as well, more sustainable clothing, better ways of producing things. And it's really lovely to see it. As Mike says, you have to start somewhere.
Definitely. I mean, I've learned a lot from a brand I'm sure you know of called Honest Riders, who have done loads about it. And I'm lucky enough to work with Zoe. And when she was talking about, the kind of processes and cotton growing, and blew my tiny mind. I felt really stupid for not thinking about it, but we just are used to things being as they are, and we get them, and that's what it is. But we're here to talk about the National Equine Show. So talk to us. It was your idea. What happened? Did you just rock up one day and say, I've had this idea, or how did that all come about?
Kind of. So Mike, the CEO of Raccoon Events, and I went to university many moons ago. I won't even say how long ago it is, because it makes me feel extremely old. But yes, we actually did a theatre studies degree together. So we're proper thests. And proud of it. But yeah, I've worked the past probably 25 years in various different marketing and sales roles, predominantly in pharmaceuticals. But I'd done some work in events over the course of my life, and I'd freelanced in events for the past few years after having children. So Mike always said to me, if you'd ever like a job, always come my way. It'd be great to have you. And I always used to joke, not unless you do an equine show. And then at some point last year, he contacted me and said, it's not a bad idea. Let's look into it, because Raccoon Media Group are always looking to expand their portfolio. They normally bring a new show to market every year and have very successfully done that. This year, we had the Outdoor Expo launch, which was a fantastic success and won lots of awards. So we looked into the equine market and where there might be a gap. And what we wanted to create, much like with our other shows, was this premium shopping experience and a great day out for the visitors in that market. So unlike some of the other shows that are out there in the horsey world, there won't actually be any horses at this show. It's very much focusing on that shopping experience and the added value pieces, such as having the stages with your heroes, skills, features, talks, demos, lots of fun things going on. But the sole part of it is being able to go as a visitor and see and speak and touch and feel the brands and products that we need for our horses. And that's what we do with our other shows. They do very well. And once we looked into that piece for equine, we thought, yeah, there is a gap. The time of year is March, so there isn't anything on the calendar in equine currently. And it looked like something that we could really work with. So here we are.
No, I think it's really exciting. And as you say, there is that gap in March before the kind of season starts and people get going, but you still do need products and to learn things in readiness for the season, and also something nice to look forward to. A cold, dreary winter, it's nice to go and be immersed in that world. So as you said, there's no horses, but then some people do go to equestrian events and don't ever see the horses. So I can understand that. So can you tell us a bit about how it's all put together? Because it's a bit different to anything else that's out there at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there are other shows on the market, and they all have a perfect place in this very busy world that we have as equestrians. And I think the important thing to mention is that all of those shows that are out there, whether they're shopping villages that are part of an equine event, or whether there's something that's focusing a bit more on shopping, they all have their place in the market and they all do a great job. As I've said, I'm a horse owner myself. I've been to all these shows. I love the shopping element of them. But for us, it's just trying to fit into the pocket that we've created with the other events that we have at Raccoon. So creating that great day out, that community, diverse, inclusive piece in the equestrian world, which is tricky to do, but also making sure that we have all the right brands and products there, so it becomes the right experience for the visitors and the exhibitors. You know, we want the exhibitors to come to our show like they do with the other shows and say that, yeah, that was great. We had a really successful show. We saw the right consumers. We sold our products. We had great conversations. So it's from both angles. But the most important thing for us, and the bit that we want to make it a little bit different, is creating this premium shopping experience, but whilst also having the added value pieces of a real diverse, interesting, topical equestrian content to the show as well.
So talk to us about this content, because you've got 2 stages, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about how that's working, who's appearing, how's it all working together?
So we have 2 stages. One is known as the inspiration stage, and that's where you're mostly going to see your heroes and heroines on the stage. So guests such as Carl Hester, Charlotte Dujardin, Piggy March. We've also got Esme Higgs, otherwise known as Sis Esme. She's wonderful. So people like that all different age groups, all different disciplines can really relate to and admire. And we'll be doing much more of a kind of interview, informal interview chats with these guests, so that you really get a feel for who they are and get to hear some of their fantastic stories, rather than watching them ride or demo, which you might see at some of the other events. And then on our other stage, which is known as the skills stage, that's where you might see more things that relate to skills, whether it's skills in horse riding, horse owning, horsemanship, even down to things like marketing, social media, growing your social presence. And
that sounds like a really good topic.
The world has changed since I was a young horsey girl. There's a lot
really
of pressure
has
now.
And I think it is so important to have that. I mean, I know, yeah. I am on this hill and I will stay on this hill, and I am speaking at the event. Spoiler alert, I haven't announced that yet. So there we go. But it is so important if we think about the way, Esme, for example, is absolute powerhouse, incredible, and is an amazing equestrian influencer who creates beautiful content for all sorts of brands and organizations. That is now a legitimate job.
It really is. And these young riders or young want-to-be influencers want to be a part of that world. They want to understand it. They want to hear from the people who understand it. So when we say skills, it really could encompass a lot of interesting topics. We haven't even finalized all of the agenda for that stage, so I still think there's some exciting stuff to come, which we will announce obviously nearer the time.
No, definitely. I think it's really good to have that mix as well, because people can dip in and out then, and even if you just came along to listen to the talks, the skills and obviously the inspiration, that would be an incredible day.
Yeah.
And if you just came to the shopping, because I know you've got the 2 different aspects of shopping as well, that would be an incredible day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think obviously you combine it together and it's next level, but there's something there for everybody, isn't there?
It is, and it's really good fun. We've seen it with our other shows. We had the National Running Show earlier this year. We had Mo Farah appear.
I love him.
He's wonderful, and he, like you say, people want to hear or see him. And it will be the same with the horse heroes as well. We want to have a fun day out. We want to have some of these added features and things that are going on the show floor in amongst the shopping, but essentially everyone's in that hall to shop, and then they can dip in and out of the other fun things that are going on.
Definitely. What are you most looking forward to about the show? apart from my talk, obviously, because
obviously that's what I'm holding out for.
Exactly, but let's put that to one side, because I don't want you to be not talking about other things because I'm here.
Okay, if I can't choose that, then what I'm really looking forward to is just seeing it come together, and not just for year one, but for the future. So we don't invest in our shows as just a one-off, you know, here you go, it's done. We look to how we can really improve them and grow them year on year. So we've seen that with the National Running Show. It's got bigger. There's now a regional South event. It's gone over to the States.
Wow.
I can't wait to see this brainchild grow into its future self. So yes, next year is going to be fabulous, seeing it come to light and all the guests there and the visitors having a fantastic time. But year on year, this show will grow and become more and more, and grow with the times and the need of the consumers, you know, what they want to see or hear or shop. It's a constantly evolving piece. So I'm looking forward to that.
Another thing about your show is the tickets. Like the price of the tickets is incredibly reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we do this with all of our shows. We don't ever want the cost of actually getting to the show to be the reason why people don't want to be there. We want to make it accessible. We want to make it very reasonable for people. And yeah, you could go to an event and you could end up spending a fortune on actually getting in before you've even spent anything. And we want that money to be going to their shopping. So yes, that's really important to us. And we do also have a lot of free ticket codes going out through our partners and sponsors. So I think it's always worthwhile watching out for those, because you could bag yourself a deal. But if not, you're not going to be breaking the bank anyway.
So who are your partners? Because obviously you've got the show and you've got different kind of supporters, but you call them partners, don't you?
Yeah, so we have a number of different angles. So we partner across all of our shows with various different organizations, and that normally means that we work with them closely to achieve what they want to achieve, perhaps through our channels, and what we hope to achieve through theirs. So we have partnered with the likes of the British Equestrian Federation, with BETA, with Horse and Hound, and there are others to be announced and that you can find on our website. So it's that kind of mutual piece of, we're new into this equine market, they have all the knowledge and the right people involved, so we really value their input and their thoughts. And also we're a growing piece in the equine market and the equine events calendar, so it will be moving forward how we can support the sort of things that they're trying to achieve as their brand goals or their plan for the next 12 months. So it's a really nice piece. It's great to have these great partners involved and really work together on how we can make this the best show for the community.
Definitely. And you've got brand partners as well, haven't you? Obviously got the federations, and I know Horse and Hound is definitely a brand, but you've got other brands as well, haven't you?
So we call them brand partners, but essentially what that is our exhibitors and our sponsors for the show. So we are at a point now, obviously, where we've been selling floor space for the show. We're selling sponsorship package. We have the luxury, being a year one show, that we can really create bespoke pieces. So whereas people may think, oh, well, you know, I could never become a sponsor, it's too much money, you know, I couldn't possibly afford that. There are lots of different things we can do to help brand activation at this show, and not just at the show, but through our website, through the marketing that we do ahead of the show, during the show, and post it. So we'd always encourage people to come and have a chat if there's something that they think that we might be able to support them with. But yeah, we have about 60% sold on floor space so far. We're 6 months out from the show.
That's
so
really impressive for a new show, and you're 6 months out.
It is, and we're really pleased that people have taken a chance on the show. I know that going into year 2, year 3, that's not a challenge because they've seen what the show can do, but it is a tricky one in year 1 to say, look, we're new, hello, look at us, this is what we can do, and no one knows it till they see it. We are at the NEC, we're an indoor show. The prices, they can't be the sort of prices that people might pay at, you know, more outdoor shows where they have a lot more flexibility, the rate card is a lot lower, but we never want price to be the reason why people aren't joining up to the show. There's always things we can do or ways we can support businesses to be there by not necessarily taking huge amounts of space or just having a brand presence in some way. So I'd always encourage people to have a conversation with me.
Definitely. I think that's a really good point. I mean, from obviously working with you in you know, obviously I know we know each other in slightly different ways anyway, but what the vibe I very much get from your good self and anyone connected to the National Equine Show and Raccoon is that you are very collaborative and you want to work with people because you've got that long-term vision, rather than the quick win and then it doesn't matter what happens next. It is always a long game, which I really like, and I think it's really positive for brands and for people visiting to know that it's not just a kind of flash in the pan. There is that long game and that foresight and that ability to form those connections and collaborations to amplify everybody's brands and for the greater good too.
That is exactly it. We don't want people to do year one and say, no, we don't want to be a part of that. We want them to see Raccoon as a family, or at least a group that they can work with. So yeah, we'll always do our level best to make it easy for people and to give them a good experience from our end. I'm new to the team, but they really are like a family and they're hilarious. I don't know quite what they're going to make of all of us horsey people. I'm known as Horsey Liz in the office, which I'm not entirely sure is a good thing.
Is there another Liz, or is that just
no? That's just what they call me.
Oh, bless you.
But yeah, they are a great team, and it's a great organisation to be a part of.
So tell us how people can get tickets, how they can find out more. They've got to be signed to your mailing list. So tell us all the ways that people can find out more and how they can follow you more closely.
Well, I'm not entirely sure, but I know all of the ways. That's something.
Best guess.
Yeah, best guess at this point. So no, we have a website, the nationalequineshow.com. So I'd always encourage people to go to the website and have a look. They'll be able to find out everything through the show website about who signed up as brand partners, as our partners, what's going on, who's our speakers. And on there's a section where they can register for tickets. As I said, always do look out for those free ticket codes that do come out, sometimes through Raccoon, sometimes through our brand partners. But you can buy tickets through the website. The box office is open now, and we have sold over 3,000 tickets now without actually having started we haven't started our marketing campaign properly. So that's just from having a vague social media presence and a little bit of noise every now and then. So that's really exciting.
And how much are the tickets? Because they are very well priced.
So at the moment, they're £10 for a day ticket. We will run that early bird ticket price through till, I think it's after Black Friday, which would make it November.
Yeah.
But then they'll probably only go up to about £12 a ticket a day. So it's still
if you can save yourself a couple of pounds, why not?
Exactly.
Especially if you're taking friends and family, it all adds up and gives you more money to spend in there.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, you can buy them through the website. You can also follow us on Instagram. You can also follow us through LinkedIn in a professional capacity. We do have a Facebook page as well. So you can just go and search National Equine Show, and please do follow us because lots of the announcements and information come out through the socials before perhaps you'd see things on the website. So it's always good to see what's going on. And as we know, Instagram socials are the way forward.
Definitely. Absolutely. It's definitely the place to go. And your website, they can sign up to your newsletter as well, can't they there?
Yeah, they can sign up to the newsletter. We will have more things going out through our partners. So if you are a member of British Equestrian Federation or BETA, or you have Horse and Hound, there will be various information and advertising going out. But in the meantime, I'd encourage everyone to go to the website or the socials, because that's where most of the information is. But certainly register for updates, then you'll get everything landing in your inbox.
Definitely. Is there anything else you would like to share about the event or Raccoon, or anything you think our lovely listeners would like to know about?
It's a tricky one. I feel like I've spoken a lot. No, I don't think there's anything more that I'd like to share about the organisation or the event, because I think we've been through that. And I think the key thing for me is just to encourage people to embrace us as a new event on the equine calendar. And if anyone has any questions or queries, I am the event director. I regularly get emails from people who are struggling with website pieces, exhibitors, visitors, everything. And I really always just welcome people getting in touch. I'm on Instagram as National Equine Show Liz, where you can see me and my various uploads of my giant horse. But yeah, it's always quite interesting just to see who's out there who's interested in the show. So yeah, I hope to meet you all in the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I am genuinely really excited about the show, not just because I'm speaking, but I am really excited about it. I think it'll be a it's not too far from me. NEC is not too far. It'll be a nice day out. Something to 40 when it's kind of dull and miserable in sort of January. You've got something that's not too far away that we can aim at and be happy about, and it's horsey.
It is. It's something for everyone. And as horsey people, who doesn't love to shop and talk about horses all day?
Too right. I'm there.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining me
Thank
today,
you.
Liz. It's been brilliant.
Thank you very much.